Okay, so, Dr. Saab, you can start.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Dr. Abdul Wahid Syal. I'm working as Associate Professor at Department of Business Administration, Elma University. And today, we all are here to discuss what sort of issues students face when they are selecting their research topic. So for this purpose, we have invited Dr. Gulab Shah, who is Assistant Professor at Sakhar IBA University. She has also a very good research background. So I believe that being together today would be a great learning for all of us. So let's welcome Dr. Gulab Shah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to Dr. Imran and to you, and thank you to Elma University for inviting me. I hope the things that I will be discussing will be fruitful for the students of Elma University. So they'll learn something from all the things that I will be discussing about how to choose a research topic for your dissertation or your thesis. So may I share the slides?
Yeah, of
Yes,
course.
yes.
Okay. Okay, is it visible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, so the topic that we have chosen to discuss today is about selecting a research topic for your dissertation or for your thesis. I'm, as I already told by Dr. Wahid, that I'm Dr. Gulab Shah, and I'm an assistant professor at Sakhar IBA University. I have done PhD in human resource management from Aix-Marseille Graduate School of Management, France. And currently I have an affiliation with Sakhar IBA University as an assistant professor, as I already told. I'm also serving as a section editor, human resource management in Sakhar IBA Journal of Business and Management. And I am also the reviewer of many international journals like Journal of Business Ethics, Journal of Entrepreneurship, Journal of Global Hospitality. And I have been reviewing the papers from international conferences like annual meetings of Academy of Management, British Academy of Management, Durham Conference, and many, many more. My research area is leadership, particularly leader member exchange and leader support. However, I have also worked on knowledge management, particularly knowledge-oriented leadership and corporate social responsibility. A bit different from that, I have also worked on entrepreneurship, particularly women entrepreneurship. So this is my brief profile. Regarding the topic that we are going to discuss today, that is about the topic selection. First, we need to understand what you want to investigate, because it depends. Whatever topic you are going to investigate, whatever topic you are going to choose will be depending on the project that you are going to pursue, because there are different kinds of projects that you are going to select a research topic. For example, there are some funded research projects like we get many funded research projects from Higher Education Commission, HEC, and there are some funded or scholarships advertised for a PhD program. In both of these cases, there is a little discretion for choosing a research topic. Why? Because whenever there is a research project announced by HEC or some other agencies, some other authorities, then they already define certain topics for you to choose and work on those topics. Similarly, there are some international scholarship programs offered by different universities around the world, and they already define some of the research areas they need the students for. So in both of these cases, you have a little discretion in choosing the research topic. Like, you don't have to struggle through this all these steps that I will be discussing in order to find out a research topic. Similarly, bit similar to that is the supervisor that you will be working on. So sometimes whatever topic you come up with, supervisor has to say that no, it's better to work on this area or on this topic. So in that case also you have a little discretion into choosing your own topic, because maybe the supervisor that he or she has already worked on the topic, he or she is interested in for you to work on the same topic. And lastly, when you have to choose, when you have to select the topic for your own dissertation and thesis by yourself, then it means you have a full discretion to choose the topic that you want to study. So it depends on the type of project that you want to pursue, and accordingly you have to choose the research topic. One thing that I want to say here, that when you are going for choosing a research topic, which is of course the first and foremost and important topic while going for the research, it is an iterative process. So you have to go back and forth in order to revise and refine the research idea that you have come across. So you do not have to be demotivated, because sometimes the idea that you come up with may be rejected by your supervisor or the committee that you will be presenting. So it is possible that the topic that you have chosen will not be accepted. So you have to keep yourself motivated throughout this process when you are doing a research. Now, the second step is to understand the basics of research. What do I mean by basics of research? Like, you need to understand the basic research process. You should understand, because if you don't know what is the research process, how you are going to go through all these steps in order to come up with certain topics, and then you can propose that research topics in front of your research committee, so that it can get accepted and you can work on that. So it is very important, highly important, that you understand the research process. Like, for example, if I don't know what is a research problem, and I came up with certain problem, but I don't know what is a research problem or how I can convert that research problem into a research question, and what are the implications, what are the practical implications, theoretical implications of that research that is going to benefit the organization, the society in a long term. Similarly, if I don't know how to conduct a literature review, how to go through all the past studies that have been conducted on that certain research topic, how to collect the data, what is methodology, what are different research philosophies, all these things are very, very important when you are going to select any research topic for your dissertation or thesis. So this is very important, because if you don't know all these things, you are going to waste a lot of time in choosing your topic. So you should understand all these basic research concepts. In addition to that, it is very important that you go through the university requirement. Like, you will be provided some guidelines, what are the requirements that you need to adhere to. So there are some essential university requirements. It may be the case that you have chosen a certain topic, and then you come up with this suggestion, with this restriction, that you are not allowed to work on this topic or carry on this topic. So you need to understand what are the university requirements. So it can vary from university to university. Like, for example, these are some of the basic essential university requirements. If you are the student of ILMA University, so maybe in ILMA University, you are required to do a research that is very much original. What do I mean by original or novel? Uniqueness of your idea. Maybe in some of the universities, or in some of the cases, students may be allowed to replicate the research that has already been conducted. However, if the university requires you to do original and novel research, there should be some uniqueness in the topic that you are going to choose. So in the same way, maybe the topic that you have chosen are not allowed to be conducted, or not allowed to be researched by your university. Like, for example, there are some sensitive topics which may not be allowed to study. So you have to see what are the topic restrictions in your university. In the same way, there may be some data requirements, like maybe your university or your supervisor appreciates if you go for the primary data, or they appreciate or they have the requirement of the secondary data, or primary and secondary, both of these requirements regarding the data collection. Methodology, in terms of methodology, it is highly possible that university requires you to do a quantitative research. However, there are many supervisors who are more interested in conducting a deep qualitative research in order to deeply understand the phenomena that the student has chosen, or some university requires you to conduct a mixed methodology. So it all depends on the university requirements. These are the basic university requirements that you need to understand. And the most important of all of these is ethics. There are certain guidelines, there are some code of ethics which are the part of that university, and you have to adhere to all those ethical requirements of the university. So you have to see what are the restrictions, what are the requirements of the university, of the supervisor that you are going to work with. So this is important. Now, if you have gone through this requirement, you have come up with certain requirements that your university requires you to go through. After that, you have to choose your broad area. This is very important. You have to identify your broad area, because until and unless you have not identified your broad areas, if you come up with certain topic, you will be asked what is your broad area. You have to identify. Once you have identified your broad area, it will be very easy for you to choose the particular research topic that you want to work on. Now, how to choose the broad area? Like if I belong to, my field is human resource management, organizational behavior. So I know my field, but I have to identify my broad area. Like I was interested in working on leadership. So why leadership? I had certain reasons for choosing to work on leadership, because when I came across a certain literature, and through different courses that I have been through, we know that there is a main and important role of leader in any organization, even in our society, at the state and political level. So leaders play an important role in any organization. So that was the basic understanding regarding the leadership role and choosing that broad area of research. So when you are going to identify the broad area, you must choose the topic that is intellectually appealing to you, that will be like you are interested in, not the one that is being proposed by your supervisor or by your colleagues, by your co-workers or someone else, your classmates. So it is very important that what is your interest? Is it appealing to you? Are you interested to do that research? Because when you are going for master's, MS or PhD, you have to spend like 3 to 4 years with that certain research topic. So it is very important that you have to invest 4 years with that particular, you have to stay with that topic. So you have to choose the topic that is interesting to you, that is intellectually appealing to you. In addition to that, it is very important that the topic that you have chosen, you should have good support from your supervisor or from your seniors, because if they don't know anything about that topic, so maybe all things will be done by you. You will be not able to have any support regarding that topic. So it is very important that you choose the area where you have the good support from your supervisors. There can be the case, because we are a researcher and we have learned that there can be some biasness from the researcher and well, because in some of the research cases we are involved in the research process, we are part of the research process. So while choosing the research topic, you should avoid the biasness and subjectivity based on your emotional investment. Maybe I'm emotionally I have an emotional attachment with certain topic, or I have a strong belief about certain topic, or I have a preconceived notions about a certain topic and I want to do that research topic. In that case, it is highly possible that your research may be biased and there will be a subjective opinion subjectivity in your research process or research findings. So it is very important that you should not try not to choose the topic that you are emotionally invested or you have a strong belief or preconceived notion about that research topic. And of course, it should have some significance, it should have some importance, it should have some relevance. So like for example, you can you have the broad area can be the leadership, broad area can be management, the broad area could be regarding the knowledge. If you have chosen the sustainability, the broad area could be the corporate sustainability or environmental sustainability, or like unemployment problems in Pakistan. So this is a broad area and you can narrow it down in the further step in order to identify the potential research topic that you want to work on. Like for example, I'm talking about the significance and importance of the broad area that you want to choose. So here there is a concept of corporate sustainability. If we see, there are certain hot topic or the recent topic that are in the fashion nowadays, like the people are now aware of the role of sustainability, environmental and green practices that are needed in this time when we are used to overconsumption of many of the resources. So in that case, the role of sustainability is plays an important role. So you can go for the sustainability related topics because it's the trending topics nowadays. So how to identify the broad area? One way could be to look at the past dissertation to identify more narrow areas of the interest. So this is just the one way. You can look, you can go to the library, or you can see the dissertation or the thesis that have been done by your seniors, and you can skim through the dissertation, like reading the titles, abstract and introduction. You don't need to read the whole dissertation or the thesis from the start to the end, but you can just skim the title, abstract and introduction just to have an idea to choose the broad topic that you want to work on. But when you are going through all these things, you have to ask yourself certain questions. What type of topic these dissertation cover, the topic that they have investigated, that they have studied, and how the topic has been turned into research question, because that's important. If you do not have any research question, you will be asked by your supervisor, you will be asked by your research committee, by your reviewers, that what is the problem and what are the questions that you want to address. So it is very important to identify the topic or the problem statement that they want to work on and how they have turned into research questions. Of course, the broad area and the narrow down area that they have regarding the topic, and is the topic is very original, novel and important or not, or maybe that's the replication of the existing study and they have just replicated in different context or in different industry. And how justified were the topics. So you have to see, because building in arguments regarding the topic is very important. You can come up with certain topics, but certain relationships, theoretical framework, but how you are going to justify that topic, why you have chosen that topic, so that's very important. So if we talk about, like, you have to narrow down the topic when you have identified the broad topic, like the leadership, as I told, my area is leadership. So when you narrow it down, you can come up with certain narrow down research topics like responsible leadership, leader member exchange, leader support, and many more, like knowledge oriented leadership, and many different types of leadership styles that have been studied in the past. So if you have the topic like social media marketing and you belong to a marketing field, you can come up with recent trends of marketing like digital, online, Facebook marketing. If you're working on customer related research like reputation management, you can come up with narrow down topic like consumer trust, customer services. And if you're working on information management, knowledge worker productivity and performance could be the narrow down of the broad topic that you are working on. Another way could be to clearly review the literature to understand the current state of knowledge. Why to review the literature? Of course, literature is very important because there are certain goals of the literature. through literature, you come up with what has been done and what is yet to be done, and what is the current state of knowledge. In order to understand the current state of knowledge, it is very important to see the recent studies from last 5 years maybe. That will give you the test of what is the recent trend and what is the development in that particular topic. So literature review is very important. When you are reviewing the literature, like means searching the databases, you have to in order to review the literature, you have to search the databases to have the literature. So you have to dig deeper into the literature. What do I mean by literature? I already said the past studies in the form of articles, maybe in the form of books and many other things. For that, in order to filter out the searching criteria, you should use keywords and maybe Boolean logic in order to filter the search criteria that you want to use, because it will help you to have the particular and relevant research articles. Like you can skim the articles. When you have search, you have the past studies, you have the literature. Now you can skim the articles, like going through the abstract, introduction, findings, or conclusion. You don't have to read the whole article, because at the first step you will be having a lot of articles, and because of the time you will not be able to read all of those articles. So you have to skim the articles through abstract and findings and conclusion, which may include the future directions. So as I already said, you need to understand what is the development in that field. Like, for example, if I'm working on leadership, or particularly knowledge-oriented leadership, or responsible leadership, or crisis leadership, I should know what is the development in that topic. Like, if I know the 10 years before studies, but what has been done now, what is the recent development in that topic, I should know that. So it is very important to go through the last 5 years most relevant topic articles regarding that topic. There is another good way to understand what has been done before and what is the development in that topic, is to find the systematic literature review articles, because systematic literature review will provide you, like, for example, there is a systematic literature review of 10 years or 20 years. So regarding that particular research topic, you will have a very detailed analysis of all those 20 years article in just one article. So that could be a better solution for you to review the literature, to have a deep understanding and development of that article, that topic in just one article. So systematic literature review can help you in that. Now there are many students, when they go through the literature, go through the articles, they do not go through the list of articles that have been listed down in the reference list, because they have been cited in the literature, but you just go through one article and do not read the articles that have been cited, that have been listed down in the reference. So one of the way is to see the reference list and pick the more relevant articles regarding your research topic that you want to work on. So you can go through all those articles. Maybe you just pick 10 articles from all those 30 to 40 articles, and then it will give you a more relevant ideas regarding your narrow topic. And after all this, you should have at least 20 relevant research articles. Although I tell my students to come up with at least 40 relevant research articles, because I have also gone through that process, and I suggest my students to at least have top 40 relevant research articles. But if you are not going through 40 research articles, then at least you should have top 20 relevant research articles regarding that topic. So another way to identify the potential or actual research topic of your, like, coming to your now the potential or actual research topic of your thesis or dissertation, is to go through the future research directions of recent articles that you have already done in literature review. When you are reviewing the literature, you should see the last part of the article, which says that limitations and future research directions. So there is a term of FRIN, which means the future research is needed. So this will give you a hint of the topic that you can work on, because it will tell you what has been done in that topic and what is missing. So you can fill that research gap by doing research on that topic. But most importantly, whatever topic you are choosing, you have to have the valid reason why previous research might be invalid in new streams of context when you are going to replicate the existing topic. Like you have in this option as well, that you, if you are not coming with the original topic, you can replicate the existing one in a different context, in a different country, in a different industry settings. But you have to justify why you come up, why the existing research is invalid in that stream of context. You have to justify. For example, if I want to, if the study has already been conducted regarding the psychological stress of employees during COVID-19 in a European context, and I want to study that in a Pakistani context, I need to justify what would be the difference and why that study is invalid or not applicable in Pakistani context. So I can justify regarding the country context, regarding the demographic context, regarding the cultural differences, regarding the socio-economic conditions. So there are different criteria that will give you the margin to justify why you want to replicate a research study. Anyway, I was talking about future research direction. So when you have that, when you go through the research directions of an article, so you know that it will tell you what has been done and what is missing. So this will give you the originality, because there are some established researcher which you are studying. So you have to see that you are studying the top ranked journals, not the journals that have no any ranking. So you should understand you are studying the good journals of your field. When you are studying the good journals of your field, it means you are studying, you are reading the work of established researcher of your field. So it will give you the idea that whatever the future directions that this research is proposing, that is the original idea, because of the recent articles calling for the further research. However, that could be the case that you might not be interested to carry out that research. Means you, if I'm working on leadership, particularly responsible leadership or leader member exchange, and I come up with certain research gaps through future research direction that are talking about the transformational leadership, role of transformational leadership. So maybe I am not interested in studying the transformational leadership role. So it is the case that if you have research directions, but that could be the original, but that might not be of your interest. Another idea is to go through the journals that provide the call for papers. There are different journals, even top journals, they call for papers. If you go through those journals and the call for papers they are calling, it means the topic that they are calling for are the recent topic, are the hot topics of that research, that field. Like if the journal belongs to human resource management, if the journal belongs to marketing, finance, so whatever the field the journal belongs to, it means those topics are the hot topics of that field. So you can have the idea from those call for papers. You have to build an academic network within and outside the university. You should not restrict yourself to your own university or your own classmates, colleagues. You should have an academic research network within and outside the university, because it will benefit you. You will interact, you will discuss your ideas, you will have a different ideas from other university fellows and other networks that you will be having. So it is very important that you have the connection with other researchers in different universities, not even in only in Pakistan, but outside Pakistan as well. And you can assess an existing topic, as I already said, and you can replicate that topic, but you have to identify, you have to justify why the existing research may not be applicable in that context. You can brainstorm and might make the ideas. Means brainstorming is to list down the ideas that you think, and those ideas could be based on your past experiences, based on the courses that you have gone through. So you can list down the ideas and see the link through the literature. Of course, you have to go to the literature. You cannot just come up with the ideas and say that this is the research problem, madam, or sir, and I want to work on that. No, you have to justify from the literature. So even if you list down the ideas, you have to go through the literature, you have to come up with certain justifications, you have to come up with certain research gaps in order to justify to your research committee, to your supervisor, that why you want to work on that certain topic. And you can have the idea from studying, finding out the problems of the industries of interest. Like for example, if you have an experience of banking industry, or you are interested in understanding the problems that exist in the banking industry or in HEIs, you can identify, find out the problems that those industries face, service sector employees face, or maybe the manufacturing industry employees face. So you can have the ideas to find out the solution to those problems and can win fully industry funded research project as well, because some of the research projects are being funded by the industry that you will be working for. A good research idea may arise from certain conditions or situations in the world as well. Like there may be certain conditions or situation that will give you an idea, like the COVID-19, the novel pandemic, gave many of the researchers an opportunity to work and study and investigate different dimensions of COVID-19 and how it has affected various aspects of our life. So certain conditions or situations may also give you the research idea. And then you have to design the research questions. When you have finalized the broad topic, you have narrowed down the topic, you have come up with potential topic, like for example, employee job insecurity during COVID-19 in Pakistani HEIs. So you have to convert that topic, you have to convert that problem statement into a research question, because research question will tell the reviewers, research question will tell the supervisor, research committee, that what are the problem that you want to address. So research question, like from this topic, the research question could be, what are the key drivers of job insecurity during COVID-19 and HEIs in Pakistan? So we want to identify the antecedents of job insecurity during COVID-19 that were faced by the faculty members in HEIs in Pakistan. And the other second research question could be, are there demographic differences in employees while working from home during COVID-19 and HEIs in Pakistan? So when we go through the research, some of the studies that have been conducted during COVID-19, they already tell us that there were some demographic differences in employees, like females, because female were working from home, they have to do the household chores as well, they have to make sure the studies of their kids as well. So they were more burdened than the male employees while working from their home during COVID-19. So there was a work family conflict as well. So because they were overburdened regarding while working from the same environment, they have to see the home, they have to see the office work as well. So these could be the question. So finally, you have to, when you have chosen the research topic, you have finalized your research question, you have to assess or evaluate your potential topic that you have chosen. So some of the criteria that are already discussed, like originality. First of all, there should be your personal interest. I already said, चाहे आपका सुपरवाइजर आपसे कहे ना कि इस टॉपिक पे काम करना है, चाहे आप कोई भी कहे, आपका सीनियर हो, कोई कुलीग हो, जूनियर हो, I would never suggest to think about those topics that are not of your interest. You should have your personal interest and motivation to do that topic, because you have to spend like 3 to 4 years with that topic. So it should be of your interest. So you are going to marry with that topic for 3 to 4 years. So you should have personal interest in that. So while evaluating your research topic, first important thing is the originality. Like, what is uniqueness? What is new in your topic? Why you want to conduct that research? How unique your idea is? Is it just the replication in a different context, in a different industry? Or the idea or the topic that you have chosen is going to provide a new insight of seeing the world, of solving a particular problem. So you have to identify, you have to justify the originality of your research. You have to assess whether your topic is original, novel, unique or not. And of course, the importance is very important. Importance is very important because if it is not, if it doesn't have any significance for the society, for the students, for the organization that you are working on, for the supervisor, for the community, then it is of no worth. So you have to identify why you want to investigate this research question. Like if you have come up with certain research problem, and if you have come up with certain solution, if you are going to come up with certain solution regarding that problem, so is it worth to be investigated, or the topic is of no worth to be spending like 4 years with that certain topic? Maybe the topic that you have chosen will be obsolete at the time that when you will be defending. So you have to see in that context as well. Then scientific, practical, social, or personal relevance. So is it relevant to the communities that you are working in, or the societies in which it is conducted, or is useful to other researchers, practitioners, and policymakers? Of course, there should be some practical relevance, there should be some social relevance, the topic that you are conducting in. Like for example, you want to work on sustainability, and you want to identify maybe the factors that could help people to work in terms of sustainability, to have the awareness about the sustainability and why we need a sustainable development. Like it is also the goal of United Nations for the world. By 2030 we should have sustainability, not only quality education but sustainability in our resources. So you can relate that topic and suggest some of the implications, that when you are working with that topic, what would be the personal or social or practical or scientific relevance, importance of that topic, and implications for the society or the organization that you have chosen the topic for. And is the literature available, enough literature available to build on? So if we see COVID-19, the novel pandemic, there were at the start of COVID-19 we didn't have any studies on COVID-19 because it is a novel pandemic. However, in order to relate to the existing studies, to the past studies, most of the studies have linked it to the crisis management, have linked it to the previous pandemic of Spanish flu and related like that. So you have to identify, is the enough literature available to build on that topic? So that's very important. However, if you see, even if you are interested in a certain topic and there is no literature available or very limited literature available on that topic, that is also an opportunity for you to investigate that topic. So, but for that you need to have a different research methodology. You cannot go for a deductive approach or a quantitative approach because there is not enough information, there is not enough knowledge available regarding that topic. You should build the literature based on certain research methodologies that will give you the deeper understanding of that phenomena. And how you are going to access the data, because there are many problems in accessing the data. Maybe you require the data from the banking industry, you require the data from HEI's faculty, you require the data from management of certain manufacturing industry. But how you will be gaining the access to the data, how you are going to contact the person that will help you to have the data from that organization. So will the data will be available to you? Like in case of especially finance, the people who belongs to finance field, they usually use the secondary data. So for the secondary data, most of the time maybe the university doesn't have the access to those databases of the different companies to provide that data. So either they have to purchase that data or they have to come up with certain research topics. So that is the case. So how you are going to have the data access? In primary data, in case of primary data, you have to see that maybe the topic that you are working on is sensitive for the organization, and organization directly reject you to have the access to the data, and they say that, sorry, we cannot provide you this data, we are not going to give you this information. So you have to see this aspect as well while you are choosing the data. And what will be the resources that will be required? how access to required data in terms of the human capital, the time frame, the budget, financial equipment, and other facilities. And research ethics, very important, very important. There should be privacy and confidentiality when you are going to collect the data, and you should adhere to the society's cultural, moral, religious, and legal values in which you are conducting the research. And when you are conducting the research, it should be conducted based on honesty and integrity. There should not be any type of dishonesty in the data collection or data analysis. So when you are analyzing the data, of course, you have to have certain skills and knowledge regarding the data. Now, बहुत सारे students को analysis नहीं आता, ठीक है, even at the stage of PhD. So मेरे ख्याल में इसमें घबराने की बात नहीं है. You should learn those skills and knowledge through everything is available on the internet. You should just go to the YouTube and see what types of data analytical skills you want to learn. Different softwares में देखें कि कौन से, अगर आप SPSS का इस्तेमाल नहीं आ रहा, you just go how to use the SPSS, how to do the analysis in Smart PLS, MOs, and many other software that you don't know. So there is no difficulty in learning. There should not be any shame in learning the skills and knowledge that you do not have. So it is very important. You are working on the research, you should at least have some skills to do the analysis. You should follow the research ethics in order to collect the data. Now, whatever the topics that you have decided, at least select and summarize top 3 topics. And all for those top 3 topics, at least craft 1 paragraph that should include this: the broad topic like the leadership, like the knowledge management, like the corporate sustainability, environmental sustainability, or reputation management. You should identify the broad topic that you have chosen. And of course, this will give you the big picture of the topic that you have chosen, and how original is that idea, how unique, what are the contributions that you are going to have in that scientific field, and the importance, why this is valuable, why this is important, why you are going to invest 4 years of your life with that topic. So what is this topic going to solve? What kind of problem will be solved if you do this research for the 4 years, 4 to 5 years? So how you will be collecting the data, because there are many issues in collecting the data, as I already discussed regarding the access to the data. So you have to see what kind of research design you are going to collect, and that should be based on the research objective. You cannot just come up with certain research design that doesn't match with the aims and objectives of your research. Finally, when you have decided the topics, top 3 topics, you can ask for the feedback from your supervisor, from your seniors, experts, and pick the topic that's most appealing to you and propose it to start working on it. So at least by going through all these steps, you will have 2 to 3 top research articles, topics that you can discuss with your supervisor. And one thing I would suggest all of you, if you are working on research or going to work on a research, always do your homework. Don't go to your supervisor before doing any work, because this will have a very bad impression. Like for me, at least, if someone comes up with certain homework they have already done on a topic, and they just come to me and ask me, "Madam, I want to work on this topic," I will be really impressed, because the student has already gone through all this step and come up with certain topic, and they have done the homework. Now they need the feedback. So वहाँ पे मैं थोड़ा कोशिश करूँगी कि I should not say no to the student, because he or she has already done that work. So this is very important, to have a good impression from your supervisor for you. So this is all about this. I hope it was beneficial for the students. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Of course, Dr. Gulaksha, it was really very informative session. I believe that all the students must have got all those concepts very clearly, as you started in a very comprehensive manner that how they need to come up. The general problems that I believe all supervisors must be facing, that many of the students just feel that only selecting 2 lines in the shape of their topic is sufficient for the supervisor to be briefed that sir or ma'am, we are working on this. But it really needs a very comprehensive homework,
Yeah.
which leads to the contributions to the theory and practice.
Yes.
So I hope that our students must have learned a lot of things from this session. But even then, let's turn to them if they have any questions.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think that there is no any question from the student side, Dr. Saab. Really a very comprehensive and detailed discussion from Dr. Kullab Shah. And meanwhile, good things which she discussed, that is that how to choose the topic from those papers where the authors have suggested for the future research. Mostly here, you also have faced, and as well I have faced from the students, that they choose the topics that do not go to the future research, and just they come up with their own chosen topic, and they said that, sir, this is the final topic and we want to do this research. So Dr. Kullab Shah, she guided us very comprehensively. Thank you so much, Dr. Kullab Shah, for
You're
giving us time.
welcome. I want to give one suggestion to students as well. If you want to do research and you have to go through all this step, then one of the suggestion is that make an Excel sheet and list down all the articles that you have gone through, and write down the name of the authors, the years, the topic, and the findings, the future research directions, and the variables that they have mentioned, that they have investigated, the link that they have investigated, the connection among the variables, the theory that they have used. So because this will be a database for you, and it will be useful for you for the rest of your life, for the rest of the life of the project that you are working on for 3 to 4 years. So it's very important, it's very helpful to have an Excel sheet of the databases of the articles that you have gone through. And of course, the recent articles should be there. I have gone through some of the research proposal, and they have mentioned a lot of studies, but all those studies are like 10 years prior or 20 years. So that shows that a student is not much motivated in understanding the development in that topic, and he or she doesn't know what has been developed or what has been established regarding that topic. So it's very important, you should know the recent investigation that has been conducted on that topic.
Exactly, Doctor. Very nice suggestion.
Yeah, that is a good take-home message. How they can maintain what they have gone so far. So
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I would like to say special thanks to you on behalf of Department
Most
of Business
welcome.
Administration and Illinois University. Thank
Most
you very
welcome.
much.
Most
Thank you so
welcome.
much. Have a nice day. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to Illinois University, and thank you to both of you for inviting me. And even if students have any confusion and they want to ask any question, and if they need any guidance regarding their research, I don't know at what stage they are in, they can contact me via my email address, and I'll give you my email address, and I will try to respond to the queries if they doesn't have any query at this stage.
Thank you so much.
Of course, I believe there must be some queries because our audience was a mix. Some of the students are of the proposals. They are working on their proposal. However, there are some of the students who are working on their final projects. So just we name it as MS602, who are going to defend their thesis at the end of this year. So surely, if there are any queries or further guidance required, we would definitely share.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Okay.
It was an
Thank
honor
you. Take
being
care.
with you. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.